What's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today I'm going to talk a bit about Epic Elite. I was inspired to make this video because of all the I don't run Epic Elite themed posts I've seen on the forums lately. Also, I periodically in game hear comments from players saying that they don't run Epic Elite for this reason or that reason. Also, I'm going to give a bit of a channel update at the end of the video. Let's start. I'm going to start by saying that Epic Elite is not that bad. It's a lot easier nowadays than it used to be. Any decent group should be able to handle at least the easy Epic Elites. If you haven't run them before or you're thinking about running them, I would recommend you start off with the easy Epic Elites, the very easy ones. I would recommend Lords of Dust for your first quest. It's probably the easiest Epic Elite in the game, and just move up as you feel comfortable. I'm going to go over some ideas in this video that hopefully will help you feel prepared, and I want to give you an idea of what to expect if you're someone who doesn't run many Epic Elites or if you're someone who's thinking of jumping to Epic Elite. Let me give you my story. I, for a long time, was one of these players who didn't run Epic Elites. I ran mainly Epic Hard. I didn't even think of running Epic Elite. Now, sometime after Menace of the Underdark came out, I decided to give it a shot. I tried to pug a few groups. It was intimidating at first, but once I got used to them, used to the difference, it wasn't that bad. That's the main thing. You have to get used to Epic Elites because it's a completely different game than Epic Hard. There's a lot of differences. Let's go over some basic differences. As far as the monsters go, you're going to see a lot higher challenge ratings, a lot higher hit points, a lot higher monster saves. The traps are going to hit a lot harder, but the biggest difference, the most important difference in Epic Elite is the mob damage output. It's a lot higher than Epic Hard, a lot higher. So this will require you to change a bit of some of your tactics. Self-healing is a lot more important in Epic Elites than it is in Epic Hard. Also, you have to consider kiting and damage mitigation. Let's start with self-healing. You have to be self-sufficient, at least to an extent, to run Epic Elites. You really should be. Even if you have a real player healing, you need to have a way to heal yourself as well. You can't just rely on a healer to heal you in Epic Elites. There's just too many damage spikes. There's too many bad things that can happen. You've got to be able to take care of yourself. Not fully, I'm not going to say that you have to be able to be 100% self-sufficient, but you need to have a way to bail yourself out if your healer isn't able to get to you. At a minimum, you should be twisting Rejuvenation Cocoon for healing, at least, at the very minimum. Especially if you don't have a healer type in your group. Scroll healing with heal scrolls just doesn't cut it in Epic Elites. It's too slow, and you're always going to fail your concentration checks in Epic Elite. The damage output is just too high. You won't make your concentration checks. This is personally why I don't even bother taking concentration on my casters. I rely on Quicken instead, which you should be doing too if you run Epic Elites. The need for self-healing in Epic Elite is the biggest reason why Blade Forged is so overpowered for classes like Fighter, Ranger, Paladin, Monk, and Rogue who don't get heal or reconstruct spells inherently. If you don't have access to heal or reconstruct spells, you can still run Epic in-game Epic Elites, but it's going to be harder for you to stay alive. It's going to be a lot more of a challenge. And if you rely, say you're a ranger or something and you're going to rely on cure spells, you need to make sure that your healing amp is really good and up to par so that these spells heal most of your health bar. As I've said, a big thing you're going to be combating in Epic Elite is the damage spikes. Spike damage is your biggest enemy, and it's going to make it impossible at times for the healer to get to you, if you even have a healer in your group. A lot of the times today, groups are bring your own heals, especially if you're going to play in pickup groups. Let's talk about a few abilities that lose value in Epic Elites and a few that rise in value in Epic Elites. Any regeneration healing ability like Death Aura, Radiant Servant Aura, and Healing Spring lose value because in Epic Elites, healing over time spells aren't as effective because burst damage is your biggest enemy. Saves become a lot more important in Epic Elites. One failed save on a crowd control spell can very well mean death, especially if you're soloing. You just often you can't afford to fail saves on Epic Elite. You might as well be failing a save against a destruction spell or a finger spell, an insta-death spell, because if you're held, if you're tripped, and get surrounded by mobs, it's game over. Because of all the raised damage output by monsters, kiting becomes a lot more useful. And moving in general becomes a lot more useful, and it becomes a lot more desirable. You need to always be moving in Epic Elites. At lower difficulties, you can afford to just stand in one place and swing your weapon, but in Epic Elite, you usually can't get away with that. You just can't let monsters surround you. They put out too much damage. I know in the gameplay you're watching, I'm not doing this all the time. I'm often standing there swinging, but that's because my character is a bit of an exception. He has a ridiculously high aura right now. It's like ticking for like over 120 or around 120, and I have really high PRR and MRR, but most other characters aren't going to have that, so you need to move a lot. One ability that skyrockets in value in Epic Elites is Quicken. As I've said, scroll casting becomes much less effective. You're not going to make your concentration checks in Epic Elite. And for healers, Quicken gives a much needed boost to casting speed. It's not just the fact that Quicken prevents you from interruption, but it's a huge deal that it makes your spells that much faster. The spike damage is so high in Epic Elite that healers without Quicken are just, it's going to be too slow. They're going to be lacking that speed that they need to heal other players in time. Quicken goes up in value for the same reason that scroll healing goes way down. Damage just comes too fast, and as I've said, you're not going to make your concentration checks. Aggro management in Epic Elite becomes a lot more important. In lower difficulties, you can just zerg through several rooms, wait, and just clean up the mobs all in one spot. But if you do that in Epic Elite, you're often going to die. Also, Dungeon Alert becomes even more dangerous. DC casting becomes all or nothing in a lot of Epic Elite content. I'm not going to say it's always all or nothing, because some of the lower Epic Elites, you don't have to have a super high DC to succeed on your spells. But when you get to the middle Epic Elites, high Epic Elites, generalist builds are going to find their DC spells not working hardly ever. Hirelings are generally useless in Epic Elite. There are a few exceptions, but in general, they just die way too easily to be useful. Relying on a hireling for healing is just not feasible. That's why you got to be self-sufficient, at least to an extent, in the Epic Elites. Another thought, when you're running Epic Elites, especially if you're in a pickup group, you should be running in your best Destiny. And you may not have to if you're running an easy Epic Elite, or if you're in a strong party that you know is going to steamroll it with no problem. But if you know that your party is going to be very challenged in the upcoming quest, don't run in a Gimp Destiny. It's rude. It's sort of like piking. If you're, say, on a monk and you run in Magister or something, you're sort of piking. Don't expect others to pull you through the quest. You need to bring your A game and be ready for the quest ahead. Some other important things your character needs: you need a solid hit point count so you can absorb damage spikes. As I've said several times, spike damage is the big enemy in Epic Elites. For in-game, I'd recommend at least, for in-game Epic Elites, this doesn't necessarily pertain to the lower level Epic Elites, but for the in-game Epic Elites, for stuff like Stormhorns and Epic Necro 4, I'd recommend at least 600, 650 hit points for backline casters. For upfront melees, you should have more. I would say at least 750 to 800 at level 28, preferably more. If you can get over 1,000, that's great. You obviously need all the basic consumables that you need for any quest, like remove disease and curse, all that stuff. Make sure you have fear immunity either slotted or you have access to greater heroism for fear immunity, especially in the Necro 4 Epic Elite content. There's a lot of nasty fear throwing enemies. You need to make sure that you aren't subject to fear. You need to have death block, of course. Fortification, you need to have over 100% fortification. 100% is not enough. There's mobs that have abilities which can reduce your fortification, and you just cannot afford to get critically hit at Epic Elites. Probably the most useful item that you need to craft are displacement clickies. They're just craft as many as you feel you need. I carry 4 of them around. They're extremely easy to craft. They don't even require tier 3 shroud ingredients. So craft as many as you can if you don't have access, if you're not an arcane and you don't have access to displacement through a spell. Also, raise dead clickies. If you can't raise naturally through a spell, craft at least, I would say at least 1 raise dead clicky. You need to be able to bail out the healer if he or she dies, or whoever else in your party is raising, maybe a druid or something. You need to be able to raise them if they die. If you don't have everything I mentioned, don't worry about it. This doesn't mean you can't run Epic Elite at all. Just maybe start with the lower Epic Elites. But if you want to be really serious about running the in-game Epic Elite stuff, you really should have this these supplies that I've mentioned. When picking out which Epic Elite quests to run, just understand your character's limitations and understand your own quest knowledge. I would recommend you start on the easy Epic Elites if you're just getting your feet wet. The easy stuff is the Web of Chaos chain that I mentioned, the Lords of Dust, that chain. Also the House P chain. I believe those are all level 20 epic quests. Those aren't very difficult. The House D chain, the King's Forest chain, give those a shot, see how you do. If you run those and you feel comfortable, then move up to the more mid epics like the Droge City chain, the Demon Web chain, 3 Barrel Cove, and Giant Hold. And once you've run those and you feel confident that you can get through those, try the higher in-game Epic Elites like Stormhorns and Necro 4. So again, all in all, if you're someone who doesn't run Epic Elites, I encourage you to give them a try. Just run Epic Elite Lords of Dust one time if you've never run Epic Elites. There's LFMs up for it all the time. It's the easiest Epic Elite quest. See how it is, just give it a shot. I bet you'll find that they aren't so bad. You should run Epic Elite because it plays a lot differently than the other difficulties, and running Epic Elite brings a whole new DDO experience to you. And if you're not running Epic Elite, you're missing out on that. Let's move on to my channel. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been up to. I changed the username on my channel from Axel15810 to Axel DDO. I wanted it to be more descriptive of what the channel was about. I actually created this channel before I decided to make it a DDO dedicated YouTube channel. The numbers behind my name, do have a meaning to me, but it doesn't relate to DDO. So I wanted to create a name that was more descriptive of what the channel is actually about. I've also tried to get a custom URL to make finding the channel easier. When I first started making videos, I'd planned to pick one, but I hadn't quite made up my mind. But I got some bad news. In December, just last month, Google changed YouTube's custom URL policy. It used to be, before last month, anyone could pick their own custom URL. Now you can't do it unless you have 500 subscribers, so I'm out of luck. I really hate this change, and I was really mad when I first read it. I wish I would have picked a custom URL before this happened. If I would have known this change was coming, I would have picked one. So unless I get 500 subscribers someday, which probably isn't going to happen, I'm out of luck. Also, I've decided to buy a new PC. I've been thinking about it for a while. I'm currently using a laptop, and the specs just aren't good for gaming. I don't have a desktop, and I've wanted one for a while. So once I get this new PC, that means I'm going to actually be able to stream on Twitch. I've wanted to stream on Twitch, but my laptop that I have right now just is not up to it. So whenever I get this new PC up and running, I'll be streaming some DDO for sure. I'll keep you all updated. I'll set a time, at least one day a week. I'll set a time where I'll stream. But I'm really early in the process on of buying this new PC. I've just started researching, so it's going to be a little while before this happens. But when it does, I hope you all can check it out. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe and tell your DDO friends and guildies about my channel. Thanks for watching.